Hello, chiropractors. Hello, slayers of subluxation. Hello, unleashers of the imprisoned impulse. I am Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from ChiroEdge, and welcome to the Easter special edition of the Chiropractic Research Breakdown, where each week we break down the most relevant chiropractic science and philosophy to empower you with the ammo and certainty needed to change your community from the inside out. The reason we're going to be special today is because we're actually broadcasting from the great country of Ireland. And as always, you can get a free trial and get the content that we're talking about in your inbox every week at ChiroEdgeMedia.com. So today we're going to be talking about a few different things. The first thing that we're going to be talking about is one of my favorite topics when it comes to chiropractic, and that is going to be Autism Spectrum Disorder. We're going to be breaking down from the Journal of Pediatric, Maternal, and Family Health earlier this year, improved health outcomes and quality of life in a 10-year-old child with autism spectrum disorder following chiropractic care to reduce vertebral subluxation, a case study and selective review of the literature by Dr. Matthew Papicho, DC. He breaks down some pretty relevant points for us. Basically what he's talking about, or in the introduction, is the rates of autism have actually increased 78% from 2002 to 2008. Which is staggering. So any literature, whatever it is, high quality, low quality, whatever they say, is going to be hugely important for helping children with autism, because the rates are so huge. So this is a case study of a 10-year-old girl with autism spectrum disorder, pervasive developmental disorder, or PDD, and explosive outburst disorder, or EOD. Her pain was 6 out of 10 and was worse when looking down at her book. So clearly she has some irritation up in the cervical spine. Hugely important for us as chiropractors, knowing that there's mechanoreceptors that are riddled throughout not only the muscles and the ligaments in the cervical spine, but especially in the upper cervical area, because so much postural information is reaching the brain from keeping our eyes level, as well as, quite importantly, that the cervical facets actually have mechanoreceptors as well, which is something that recent research over the last 10-15 years has actually found. What's really interesting here is that she had met all of her developmental milestones through 18 months old, and I mean, you guys have seen this in your practice, you've heard this story before. She, was immunized, immunizations administered, and then she began to fall behind. At the time of her beginning care, she couldn't throw a ball, she couldn't climb or descend stairs, she couldn't use a spoon, she couldn't feed herself, she couldn't identify body parts, she couldn't sit herself in a chair, she couldn't speak 4 to 20 words, she couldn't turn pages of a book, she couldn't build a tower of 5 blocks. Now, those are really specific things I referenced. I would love to see it sounds as though they're using something like the Autism Treatment Evaluation Checklist or something similar to actually be asking these questions. Or maybe they're just using developmental milestone charts. I would love to actually see that in the paper to show what exactly they were looking at, but that's neither here nor there. She was delayed in hitting those 30 to 36 month milestones, and the 3 to 4, the 4 to 5, and the 5 to 6 year milestones. After chiropractic care, she began to meet the 6 to 7, the 7 to 8, 8 to 9, and the 9 to 10 year milestones. That is flippin' fantastic. Before chiropractic care, she would repeatedly stim with headbanging. If you guys have ever taken care of children with autism, you know that there can be a lot of stinging, a lot of trying to get a specific input up into the brain. Theoretically, what they could be doing is trying to override the aberrant afferent information, the aberrant proprioceptive information that's reaching the brain from subluxation. They could just be trying to get more up there. She would, in daycare, she would rock back and forth. She would flap her hands. She wouldn't make any eye contact. She wouldn't interact with other children. She would have to be restrained from hurting herself and other children about 20 to 30 times a week in daycare. 20 to 30. Begins chiropractic care with torque release technique, drops down to 1 time a week she's restrained. Unbelievable. I mean, cause and effect, that's pretty clear cut there. We're living this life, 20 to 30, we start getting adjusted, boom, down to 1. Right? Is there a randomized control trial showing that children who begin chiropractic care get restrained less? No. But, this is pretty clear cut. It doesn't get any better than that. She'd present to the clinic with protective, taut, and rigid position, that fight or flight type position. Within 15 to 20 minutes, she would be more relaxed. This is an absolutely amazing case study. We all got to kind of see this stuff in our practice all the time. But then, honestly, the discussion section kind of pisses me off. I'm not really sure about what the intent was. This is a torque release technique study, and I love torque release technique. It seems as though the intent of the discussion section wasn't to actually justify chiropractic. It was to justify or bash other less specific techniques. To give you an example, he talks about specifically references a randomized control trial from AO, which is comparing full spine to adjustments to upper cervical specific adjustments, and what they found was a fourfold improvement in symptoms of autism spectrum disorder. Now, it's pretty cool that you easily leave that right there. I've personally read this study because I've actually published on this topic in the Journal of Pediatric, Maternal, and Family Health in 2016. And the amazing thing about that specific study is they actually don't reference any statistical significance whatsoever. So they found this fourfold increase, but nobody actually did the math to say whether or not it was actually statistically significant. So it's a randomized control trial. It doesn't mean anything. We seem to leave that out. A quote is, diversified adjustments have been shown to improve a patient with autism spectrum disorder. Adjustments were given in the cranium, cervical, thoracic, and sacral regions on average. And here's the quote that really bothers me. It says, full spine adjustments typically involve multiple segments in the spine, which does not isolate the exact location of vertebral subluxation. I mean, how can you make a statement like that and not actually support it? How can you say the full spine adjustments because it does more than one level at a time? It doesn't specifically isolate vertebral subluxation. I don't get that. I mean, I use torque release technique, so I get it, right? Like, I understand it. But how can you say that and not make that supported? And as a matter of fact, torque release technique looks at more than one and adjusts more than one segment at a time. So is that not specifically analyzing level of vertebral subluxation? You can talk about how palpation only doesn't bring in, a neurological component. Maybe you can even try to justify that by talking about other clinical indicators of subluxation. But to just put that out there and bash other techniques, especially when you're starting to say that diversified adjustments have shown improvement with autism spectrum disorder, that doesn't make sense to me. But that's my soapbox. Maybe I'm just upset because I'm actually referenced in this article and he spelled my name wrong. Whatever. If we're talking about how diversified adjustments improve subluxation or improve autism spectrum disorder, I don't understand why we're bashing them. Overall, it's a solid case study which shows huge neurological changes. I love to see that, but I'd love to see this unsupported technique battle stop because it's bull. Our profession and the people who we're talking to, the people who we're caring for, they deserve more than that nonsense. All right, next. If you guys are just joining us, this is the Chiropractic Research Breakdown with myself, Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from ChiroEdge. We are live from the country of Ireland. Next, we're going to be talking, speaking about bashing, we're going to be talking about medical doctors looking at lumbar epidurals, talking about whether or not they're cost effective. Short answer, no. Basically, these are some surgeons from, this is actually the studies from, published in Spine in 2018. It's called Cost Effectiveness of Lumbar Epidural Steroid Injections. It's from the Norton Leatherman Spine Center. Basically, they're surgeons who are looking at the cost effectiveness of lumbar spinal injections. They say, hey, spinal injections suck, so let's just do surgery instead. So I love the data. I would probably draw a little bit of a different conclusion from them, but we'll talk about that. All right, right in the intro, they jump at this. They say the premise is that local injection of anti-inflammatory drugs, such as steroids, lead to a reduction of inflammation through inhibiting the formation and release of inflammatory cytokines, leading to pain reduction. Recent systematic reviews have concluded that strong evidence for clinical efficacy of lumbar epidural spinal injections is lacking. Right in the intro. MDs bashing MDs. See, we're not the only ones, guys. So they looked at quality adjusted life year in patients who received injections. Basically looking at the quality of life in these people, they analyzed it. And then the first sentence in the discussion, recent systematic reviews comparing or evaluating the comparative effectiveness of lumbar epidural spinal injections showed that the best available evidence regarding its efficacy is less than robust. I love the passive, less than robust. That's fantastic. I love that. The funny part here is that they're actually looking to bash spinal epidural injections. But the funny thing is that in their study, with the results from what they looked at, which is the quality of life, was actually one of the best outcomes that they had found in any similar study. And the outcomes that they found, and this is the funny thing they talk about, is they're still saying they're cost effective, but saying, oh, by the way, we still got better results in this study, even the way that we looked at it, than other studies in the past. And they only found that about half the patients showed any improvement in quality of life. Half! Right? Half. I have more than half of people improving with lumbar degeneration in my practice, right? And I do torque release technique, which is non-specific. Just kidding. Sorry, it's my pun. So rather, their thing is well, why don't we, instead of doing these injections, why don't we just switch and just go straight to surgery? Or let's look and see the subgroup that does improve from steroidal injections, and let's only give them injections and just go right to surgery for somebody else. Or if you're like a logical human like me, you say, well, if this is the accepted conservative method, maybe we should start to treat the cause instead of just treating the symptoms. Right? I mean, maybe. Maybe we should correct any subluxation, misalignments of the spine, causing nerve interference, causing these issues in the first place, rather than just continuing to perpetuate the problem by shooting drugs and surgery. But hey, I'm just a chiropractor who looks like I'm 14 years old. All right? So yeah, we have a little bit of a different conclusion from the data, but what I want you guys to take about that is when people talk about, well, I'm just going to go get these injections, they're only 50% effective, and they're not cost effective. Let's take some stress off the healthcare system. All right, and I know if you guys are tuning in so far, once again, we're going to do our last study here. This is one of my favorites. This is the Chiropractic Research Breakdown, International Edition. Happy Easter. We're in Ireland. It's beautiful. Show some love. Ask any questions you guys have. If you guys have any questions, if I like them, I'll answer them. If not, I'm going to go right on to vindicating our man, 1895, Harvey Lillard, in this research study predicting the risk of hearing impairment following cervical spine diseases by measuring the cervical range of movements, a pilot study, not from a chiropractic college, not from Northwestern States, not from Cal Life University, not from Palmer Davenport, from the Iran University of Medical Sciences. Can't really say it any better than they did, so I'm just going to read this right from the intro. Previous studies have shown that any abnormality in the cervical spine, especially the upper cervical spine, can affect the arteries or nerves related to the ear and disturb their function through different mechanisms. For instance, 60% of the patients with cervical rheumatoid arthritis suffered from hearing disorders. The hearing impairment following the cervical spine diseases such as osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, disc herniation, or cervical upper segments, whiplash, etc., may appear as hearing loss, vertigo, and tinnitus. Usually, the treatment or rehabilitation of the condition, reduces the hearing loss or obliviates vertigo and tinnitus. The less time of the cervical spine involvement, the faster and more favorable the symptoms of the disease would be resolved. Amazing! Hearing loss with cervical spine disease, showing of decrease in cervical range of motion. If we improve the cervical range of motion, like, I don't know, through specifically adjusting subluxation, hearing loss is improved. Harvey Lillard, man, we got your back here. Iran University of Medical Sciences has your back. They don't really propose an exact mechanism here as to why this is the case. They actually stumped as to why it might be the fact that actually when they looked at it, left cervical rotation, that was associated with it. So people had difficulty not in right cervical rotation, but in left cervical rotation. They're the ones who saw the decrease in hearing. That was the only associated or affiliated or correlated change in range of motion. And the reason that they actually proposed this was that probably the fact that they didn't account for is people being left-handed or right-handed. So because of the overwhelming presence of right-handedness, it probably has the reason that it was the left rotation. That's pretty fascinating to me. But Harvey, we got your back. I remember docs in school saying, "Oh, it's just C2 body right, tinnitus, vertigo, Meniere's, whatever." And actually, that's not. I always thought that was stupid, but it's not crazy. All right, Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from ChiroEdge. This is your international Easter edition of the Chiropractic Research Breakdown. I'm sorry if this is a little bit spotty. If we were breaking up at all, if you couldn't hear this, you can go ahead, you can check this out. It's going to be at chiroedgemedia.com/podcast. The audio version is going to be uploaded on there, so go ahead and check that out. It's been absolutely fantastic spending time with you guys. As always, you can get a free trial. You can get this information straight to your inbox at chiroedgemedia.com. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. We're going to be broadcasting next week. Right now we're on the west coast of Ireland. Next week I'm going to be doing something from Dublin, so it'll look slightly different, but let me give you guys a shot one more time. awesome. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from ChiroEdge. Happy Easter. Have a blessed day.